It was supposed to be a light-hearted evening as Anne Hathaway appeared on The Late Show with Stephen Colbert, dressed elegantly in a shimmering black ensemble that captured the attention of the audience the moment she walked in. The applause was deafening, fans thrilled to see the Academy Award-winning actress back on the late-night circuit. Promoting her new psychological thriller, Anne flashed her iconic smile and sat down confidently, expecting the usual mix of laughs and career talk. But as the conversation unfolded, it quickly took a turn no one in the studio or watching at home expected. Stephen Colbert, known for his sharp wit and quick tongue, began the interview in his usual manner, tossing in a few jokes about Anne's intense roles and her transformation from the Princess Diaries to darker, more complex characters. Anne laughed along politely at first, even adding a few humorous takes of her own. "I guess I went from tears to trauma," she joked, earning chuckles. But when Colbert began digging deeper into her personal life, specifically her past struggles with media scrutiny and internet criticism, the atmosphere subtly shifted. "You've talked before about how tough Hollywood has been on you," Colbert said. "Do you think maybe people just weren't buying the whole a perfect girl thing?" Anne's smile froze for a second. "I'm not sure I ever asked anyone to buy anything," she replied carefully. "I've just been myself." The audience tittered nervously. Stephen, sensing the edge, doubled down. "But don't you think some of the backlash came from you being, well, a little too polished, too rehearsed?" That's when Anne's demeanor truly changed. Leaning forward, Anne's voice dropped slightly. "Is that what this is? A deconstruction of a public persona you don't understand?" she asked. Colbert, taken slightly aback, attempted to play it off. "I'm just asking the questions everyone's curious about." "No," Anne responded. "You're making assumptions wrapped in jokes. That's not curious, so yeah, it's mockery." The crowd fell into an uncomfortable silence. What had started as an upbeat promotional appearance was spiraling into a tense exchange, and it was all happening live. Colbert, trying to regain the light-hearted tone, cracked another joke. "Hey, at least no one's calling you a hater anymore, right?" The audience chuckled hesitantly. "And didn't. You know, I lived through years of media bullying, Stephen. That name, and everything that came with it, affected me more than I ever let on." The studio went quiet again. "I'm here to talk about my work, not rehash a narrative that the press created just because I was ambitious and well-spoken." Her voice was firm but calm, the emotion bubbling just beneath the surface. Trying to pivot, Stephen asked about her new film, but the damage had already been done. Anne's answers became curt. Her body language closed off. "It's a psychological film about manipulation and perception," she said, "kind of like what's happening here, wouldn't you say?" That jab was impossible to ignore. Stephen chuckled awkwardly, clearly struggling to keep control of the interview. "Well, I'm not trying to manipulate you," he said, "just having a conversation." Anne gave a tight smile. "Then maybe listen instead of pushing your own story." The interview veered into choppy waters again when Colbert referenced Anne's earlier years and how she handled fame. "You were America's sweetheart." Then it shifted. "Was that hard to handle?" Anne raised an eyebrow. "Would it be easy for you if people started defining you by the lowest moment in your career instead of your work?" she asked. "Imagine doing your job, and instead of being respected for it, you're questioned for smiling too much, talking too clearly, or being too prepared." It was a raw, honest moment, one that Colbert clearly wasn't ready for. Behind the scenes, producers were signaling for a break, unsure how much further things might escalate, but Colbert decided to push once more. "Some say you've finally loosened up. How do you feel like you've changed who you are to win people over?" Anne sighed deeply. "If being genuine means I stop laughing at jokes made at my expense, then maybe I have changed." The audience erupted in brief applause, unsure whether to support her or retreat into awkward silence. Colbert was visibly flustered now, flipping through his cards to escape the line of fire. Anne, clearly fed up, began to remove her mic. "I think I've said enough," she stated. Colbert tried to laugh it off again. "Oh come on, don't go all diva on me now." That was the final straw. Anne stood up. "Calling a woman a diva because she refuses to be belittled is exactly why people are afraid to speak their truth on shows like this." The room froze. Colbert, now realizing the gravity of the situation, attempted to stop her. "Anne, wait, we can talk about this off-camera," but she was already walking. The studio audience gasped as Anne walked off stage, composed but clearly furious. The camera quickly cut to Colbert, who sat silently for a beat before offering a weak smile. "Well, that was unexpected," he said. "Let's take a break." But the break came too late. Clips of the walkout began flooding social media within minutes, trending on Twitter and dominating entertainment headlines. Fans and critics alike weighed in, many taking Anne's side and applauding her for calling out condescending behavior in real time. By the next morning, the news had made its way into major outlets. "Anne Hathaway walks off Colbert and Anne's emotional exit goes viral" were plastered across entertainment sites, while Colbert's team released a short statement noting that they valued all conversations, even difficult ones, and remained silent. Her publicist refused interviews, saying only that Anne was focusing on her upcoming premiere. The silence only fueled the drama, and the speculation about behind-the-scenes tension grew even louder. Celebrities began weighing in too. Several actresses, including Jessica Chastain and Viola Davis, posted cryptic tweets about being tired of pretending for the sake of interviews. The message was clear: Anne wasn't alone in her frustration. The conversation evolved into something bigger about how women in Hollywood are treated, especially those who carry themselves with poison intellect. Anne's walkout wasn't just seen as a personal stand, but the symbol of how much pressure public figures are under to be both flawless and likable. Anne eventually broke her silence through a thoughtful Instagram post. "I walked away because I refused to stay quiet while being dismissed. My job is acting, but I'm also human. I've learned that strength doesn't always look like silence." The post received millions of likes and supportive comments, many calling her a role model. For fans, it was a defining moment of proof that Anne Hathaway, long criticized for being too perfect, had finally taken complete control of her narrative, and done it unapologetically. Meanwhile, Colbert's team scrambled to do damage control, booking more female guests in an effort to shift focus. On a later episode, Colbert addressed the incident. "Live interviews are unpredictable," he said. "Anne's a brilliant artist, and if I misstepped, I hope we can have a real conversation about that someday." It wasn't a full apology, but it was enough to settle some nerves. Still, the ripple effect lingered. That night with Anne had become a case study in celebrity media dynamics, and it wasn't going away anytime soon. Industry insiders suggested Anne's reaction could redefine how interviews are conducted. "She drew a line that others were too afraid to draw," said one prominent agent anonymously. "Publicists are now reviewing all late-night bookings with new eyes. Some networks even began offering interview pre-approvals, a move that might seem restrictive, but one that felt necessary in an age where emotional well-being is finally being prioritized over viral sound bites." As for Anne, she emerged from the storm more respected than ever. Her film performed well at the box office, boosted no doubt by the publicity from the incident. But more importantly, she had changed the game. Anne Hathaway didn't storm off. One columnist wrote, "She stood up gracefully, clearly, and with power." In a world where every move is captured and judged, her refusal to play along became a moment of truth, and one that left a lasting mark on pop culture. The whole ordeal, from awkward banter to walk-off to public reaction, became a turning point not just for Anne Hathaway, but for celebrity interviews as a whole. It reminded the world that behind every polished persona is a persona, one with feelings, boundaries, and the right to demand respect. Anne's departure wasn't dramatic, it was deliberate. And as the dust settled, one thing was clear: authenticity isn't always easy, but in that moment, Anne Hathaway chose it anyway, and millions stood with her.